Mitch Buchanan, Johnny Keene,
Yes.
Brandon White,
Yes.
Ashley Kennedy, Margaret Townsley,
Here.
Barry Holder Jr.,
I thought I saw Barry on.
and I thought I saw Mitch too.
Yeah.
Can you hear
both
me
of-
now?
Is that Barry?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
And Mitch, you're here too, correct?
Yes, can you hear me?
Now I can. Thank you. So you're present at the meeting. Perfect. We have a quorum.
All right. Chair will entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes from August 10th.
Chairman, I will.
Actually, I do have a.
Go ahead, Barry.
No, I did have a couple of corrections to note on the minutes. It was actually just, I think, a couple of spelling errors. It was about midway down in the paragraph. It starts off, Mr. Judah stated that the applicant is requesting, and then I was talking about major home occupation in order to, and it should be, instead of sale, it would be SELL, firearms online.
Mhm.
Do you see where I am?
Yes, sir. I've noted that.
Okay, thank you. And actually, the exact same correction, the paragraph below, it says the request is simply to buy and sell SELL firearms online. So that, and those are the only two corrections I have.
Thank you, Barry.
Oh, you're welcome.
Chair will
Barry,
entertain.
Were you making a motion to approve those minutes?
Yeah, Chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from August 10th as amended.
Motion to approve those minutes as amended.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
All right. Minutes passed or approved. Okay, staff, do you have any items to come before us today?
Just the one item on our agenda.
All right. Secretary, will you please call the item?
In accordance with Articles 4 and 15 of the Franklin County zoning ordinance, the Journey Early Education Center is requesting approval of a conditional use permit to allow the operation of a daycare facility for up to 70 children on the property located at 2842 Leestown Road. The property is more specifically described as property valuation administrative map number 104-00-00-025.00.
All right. Ben, will you please present the item?
Sure. All right, so the subject property is in a CG General Commercial Zoning District. It is located off of Leestown Road, Highway 421, not too far from the Woodford County line. It's in the southeast portion of the county. Throughout my analysis, there are some sections that I refer to on conditional use permits, Article 15. I had positive findings. There are some specific conditions listed under 15.06 that pertain to conditional uses for daycares. Those include that the minimal thresholds that require a conditional use permit. One would be for any proposed daycare that abuts a residential zone. This one does. And also for any daycare that would have more than 35 children. This one is proposing to have more than 35 children. So therefore they have applied for this conditional use permit request before us here tonight. There's some other sections in that portion of the zoning ordinance that are specific to daycares, including a site plan, the total area requirements, the play area, and they have satisfied all those requirements and are able to meet those requirements. So based upon that, I have recommended approval, and I've also recommended 5 potential conditions that can be imposed if the board wishes to do so. Those conditions are as follows. The first one being A conditional use permit is granted to the Journey Early Education Center to allow the property as a daycare facility for up to 70 children. A conditional use is permitted only at 2842 Highway 421. The conditional use is not transferable to any, transferable, and any change in ownership will render the approval null and void. And any signage, this is the fourth one, signage must comply with Article 11. And the fifth one is the Journey Early Education Center shall receive all necessary regulatory approvals from other state, local, and federal agencies for legal operations of a daycare. And so with that, I'll open it up to any questions.
All right. Any members of the board have any questions? Ben?
Brandon, I do. Ben, I know that you didn't, we all saw the letter that came in this afternoon from Sharon Newby. And I know you didn't have that when you did your report, but I'm looking at section 15.014 that says the proposed use will have no adverse effect upon the adjacent or surrounding property. And the Newby's letter seems to indicate the contrary. And I just have to confess, I'm not sure what we do with that. Maybe you know, or maybe Mr. Logan knows. Guide us on that.
So I think that the board should definitely consider any concerns brought up by any adjacent property owner, but yeah, I didn't include that in my report. It did come in after the report, so that's why it was absent from that. I still think that there is a high degree of compatibility, although noise is an issue with a multitude of uses. You could even, for example, have noise issues with your neighbor who is just a resident. So I understand the issue, and I definitely think the board should consider it.
Mr. Logan, what do you think?
First of all, Mr. Judah, would your consideration of the letter alter your recommendation to the board?
Exactly.
I don't believe it would.
All right, sir. What other factors have you reviewed other than this letter with regard to whether noise or other things may be incompatible?
So the proposed location of the play area, which is where the noise would probably most likely be originating from, is on the opposite side of the property from the person who wrote the letter. They're on the opposite side of the property from where the play area is proposed to be located. So perhaps there's enough distance. It's not directly on that property line. So I think that that's where I would fall.
Is the play area going to be close to any other residence?
Let me take a look at my image here. No, adjacent on that side is some rural vacant land, farmland.
Would you be recommending then that the area that's designated for play be confined or not extend to an area that would be close to the adjoining residential property?
I would feel comfortable with that. If the board saw that as a condition they wanted to impose, I would think that that would be fair.
All right, thank you. Ms. Townsend, I have no other questions.
I have one more, please. I mean, as usual. The very next item describe or concern, let's see, 15.015, excuse me, asks if appropriate screening or buffering is provided. And the neighbors indicated that people drove across their yard or drove up their driveway and across. Should there be a recommendation that the church put up some kind of fence? Would that be appropriate?
So 15.015 refers to like a landscape buffer, and the construction of a new parking lot would trigger in some landscaping requirements. Currently the applicant's not proposing to construct anything, so I didn't put anything in there requiring any additional buffering.
Okay.
Can I jump in here and for you, Margaret, and ask Ben a related question, please?
Please.
So it's a little hard to see the picture in the staff report, but I looked on Google Earth. Is the swing set area that was noted in the adjacent property owner's letter, is that basically adjacent to their property on the left rear? I'm getting a nod from Ms. Newby. Okay.
So yes, the play area is on the eastern portion of the property, and I believe Miss Newby is located to the west.
All right. And so in the play area that's on the opposite side, if we make that a requirement that it just be, I guess my thinking is that you've got a lot of kids potentially, and there's a playground, swing sets. They're going to want to go over and swing. I don't know how you're going to police that, because I know when I was a kid, you've got a play area, but you've got another play area, and then the whole parking lot can be a play area at certain times. I would think if we chose to, this board could require a certain amount of fencing as a landscape buffer to the adjacent residential property owner. And if that was required, I would assume in this zoning area, that would be a 6 foot tall, no taller than 6 foot tall privacy fence, something like that. Would that be correct in this type of zoning? If it was required, if we made that a requirement?
I think you can ask Mr. Logan if he has any issues with imposing a fence being required. I'll have to check my book to make sure that the zoning district fence height, what the maximum fence height is. I know in a residential zone, which is what Mrs. Newby is in, she's in a rural residential zoning district. Her maximum fence height would be 6 feet, but I would have to check, and I can check real quick if you'd like me to, for the maximum fence height in a commercial district.
I believe it's going to be 6 feet, but that's fine if you'd like to. I do have another question, just kind of general, because we haven't heard from the applicant or any other person.
Yeah, I'm looking at who's in on this meeting and I actually don't see the applicant
Right.
here.
I do have a question, an ordinance question. There's the letter referenced noise with the existing use of the property. Do we have a noise ordinance in the county? Because I live in the county and I'm really not sure.
I'm not 100% sure, but enforcement of that would fall on the sheriff's department.
I also ask Mr. Logan a question, please.
We do not have a noise ordinance. It would have to be in the determination of the officer that went out, whether or not that noise exceeded normal limits and was too loud and became a nuisance. It's more in the public nuisance area than in just a decibel of noise.
Could I ask Mr. Logan a question, please? Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind,
Yes.
I'll just continue talking because I seem to do that a lot. Mr. Logan, we don't have the applicant in our meeting, and I would think that a number of us have questions of the applicant as it relates to what they're proposing and to their current use of the property. Would it be wise for us to table this until such time as the applicant can show up, or can we vote on this without the applicant if we hear testimony from the adjacent property owner? What would be best served for everyone?
I can't tell you what would be best served. I can tell you that, yes, you can go forward. Yes, it is probably a good idea to be able to ask the applicant if they will do something to in some way remediate the problems with the adjoining landowner. Yes, we can table if you wish, or we can go forward. That's a determination you all have to make.
One last question for you from a administrative standpoint. If we don't have the applicant here, but we do have someone else, that adjacent property owner, that wants to give testimony, is it best to go ahead and take that testimony, or would it be better from a record standpoint to have both parties in the same meeting?
I'm always in favor of having, if you're going to have both parties, you have both parties testify. I don't know that beneficial to us to have 2 bites at the apple from everyone.
If you don't mind, I might try to give the applicant a call to see if they can join.
I think that would be a great idea.
Yeah.
Let me do that. I'll be right back.
Can I say something? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the
I'm
majority
sorry.
of the time when
Yeah.
I broached my grievances with the church, they did everything they could to fix it. So I don't want you to think that they never fixed the problems. They fixed most of them.
Okay.
So they are easy to work with.
Well, that's good. Does, Mr. Logan, does Ms. Newby need to be, does she need to, not swear in? Does she need to be officially included?
No, ma'am, I think she made a comment. We all heard that.
Okay.
She can give her name and take the stand when she wants to. I think she
I'll
was
call you in a
out with
minute.
the position.
Okay.
I have a question, not kind of off topic to Ms. Newby. I noted in your letter that you have a koi pond. And I was
Yes.
thinking of getting some koi fish because I have a large pond. How many do you have in your pond?
Oh, too many. We probably have they spawned last year, so we had a bunch more than we expected. We just delivered about 70 to some friends who have a pond, but we still have too many. So I'd say we have, of the large variety, we have them probably 36 inches long. I'd say we have 12 of those, and then different sizes, probably another 30.
How many did you start out with? Because I was told. maybe
Oh, probably
my pond-
only 7 or 8,
Did you get
maybe
those
a
from, like,
goldfish thrown in.
Did you get those from like Southern States or someplace like that?
Actually, my husband got some of his koi from Japan. You can order them overnight, $99 to overnight them from Japan. So he wanted some really beautiful koi, and
I just wanted to
it's
start.
very relaxing. We have a waterfall. It's
I
nice.
wanted to start some in my pond, and I was told that some suppliers you can get some of these koi and other types of fish through like Southern States. So I was just curious.
You probably can, yeah. There used to be a place in Lexington that it was a koi pond store, but it closed.
Oh, one last question about your koi. Do you ever have birds come and grab the fish? Because I was told that can happen.
Yeah, we keep a lookout. We have seen one of those gray, I can't think of the
Heron
name.
maybe is what's called.
The great blue heron.
Yes, and it actually came down and it was on the edge of the pond. Ours is all stone, so the pond actually sits, besides going 8 feet down, it comes up about 4 feet. So it was sitting on the wall, and my husband happened to see it and got back there and got it out of the road. To our knowledge, we never lost a fish, but we also have trees that kind of cover both sides with just a little in the middle. So I think it's hard for those birds to see the pond.
Food for thought, because I want to get them before the cold weather sets in.
Yes, you got to have it deep so they can go deep in the wintertime.
Oh, one more thing. How deep is yours? Because mine's about 4 feet deep.
It's 8 feet in the deepest part. I'm not sure. I have to ask my husband. He's the pond expert. Exactly if 4 feet would be deep enough.
I need to find that out before I put fish in it and they freeze.
Yeah,
I know
well,
the
if you keep an aerator going, then you always keep the water going, you're not gonna have it freeze.
Right, right.
Quick update, I have her on the line. She's trying to log in now.
Right.
You can turn on your camera if you want, or if you want to. Who is it?
Okay, I think we have her here. Marcia, are you there? I'm going to hang up on the phone now,
Okay.
maybe.
Right. Chair will ask the applicant to please present your case. Marcia,
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
you please present your case.
Yeah, we are asking for permission to be able to put a daycare center in our facility at 2842 Leestown Road.
Right. Does the board have any questions for Marcia? Dawn, you're on
Dawn
mute.
was trying to say something and she's muted.
Sorry about that. I was wondering if I could get Marcia's full name for the record.
My name is Marcia Brown, Marcia Brown.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Could I ask you a question, Ms. Brown?
Sure.
Yes.
This really has more to do with the current use, and it just goes towards an adjacent property owner's concerns. Now, currently, you've got a church without a daycare, but I believe letter stated that you have like a youth group and such. Can you tell me about the church activities during the week, or weekly activities? Most churches have 2 or 3 nights, various activities and such. Do you have activities like every day, or just if you would describe it for me, please?
Well, we have a Sunday morning service at 10. We have our youth meet at the church, inside the church, on Sunday evenings from 5:30 to 8. Our youth also meet on Wednesday nights from 6:30 to 8. We have just started some Bible study groups, and we have a women's group that meets on Mondays and a men's group that meets on Wednesdays.
You have many activities outdoors. Some churches will do that, have, bazaars and things like that. Or...
Yeah. We've been there almost 5 years. We've had very few things. There's been a couple of times that we've had like a Sunday afternoon event outside with a picnic or a fish fry, but it's maybe a time or two a year. It's very rare.
Do you all do like a lot of churches do? Do you have rentals for like weddings and things like that? And if so, is there activities that take place outside as part of that?
No, we have just done a very few weddings, and they've been very small and been inside the church, but we have not had any activities outside like that at all that I can remember.
Ms. Brown, I
Yes.
noticed that you said that the playground will be used in shifts with no more than 15 children at a time.
Yes.
Do you mind if we make that a condition? of the,
Sure.
Conditional use permit?
Yes, yes, because that would be the ratio of the most children that we could have in a group would be 14. And so that would be perfectly fine because we will take them out in shifts like that.
Right. Any other board member have any questions?
I do. Can I have a follow-up, please, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Ms. Brown, we know that of course, you've got a play area and, swing sets and all that closer to the adjacent residential property. We were talking before you got on board where the play area is on the opposite side from the residential. Is it your intention to keep the kids in the delegated play area in your application, or would they occasionally be over at the swing set? Of course, kids like to swing.
No, they would not. We would, by the regulations, we have to have them in a fenced area for licensing. And so we have a tall privacy fence, and that's the only place the children would be able to play outside.
Thank you. That's all I have.
All right. Let's see. Ms. Sharon, would you please present your case and state your name for the record?
Sharon Newby.
Right, and present your concerns.
Okay, I sent a letter to Mr. Judah, just outlining our concerns as neighbors, mainly noise abatement plans. And then also how opening a daycare next to our house would affect our property value should we decide to sell our home, because nobody wants to buy a house next to a daycare. So a lot of my concerns were the activities going to be right outside our windows? And you've answered some of those questions that lead me to believe that you're going to keep them over on the other side. So that would help a lot. So basically, those are my two concerns: noise and traffic, and the driving across happens sometimes. They turn down our single lane driveway and they pull across the grass to get over into the church parking lot, which is our property, 8 feet on the other side of the driveway. So I've even gone over into the church parking lot when somebody did that, when I saw it, and I actually asked them not to do that again. And they were very nice, and hopefully they never did it again. But it happens more often than you think. And I don't know how they miss your turn in, but they do.
Anybody from the
That's
board
pretty
have any
much it.
questions for Ms. Newby?
I have a question because I looked on the Google Earth and I could see better than in the staff report. So that driveway that adjacent to your property, it's a long shared driveway, is that correct?
That's correct.
If you have concerns with people missing the turn and basically going through your property, have you considered putting up a section of fence or a sign to try to deter that? Because, I would think the church can tell people, but there may be a new person. That's why they miss the entrance. Is that something that may help alleviate that problem?
But that would be a long fence from the
Well,
road.
I know, I'm just meaning towards the first 20 feet of the property and not even that much, because I see that they have a 3-piece, like a farm fence. And then it's open to where somebody could cut through. I think I was reading that or seeing that correctly.
Yeah, where they cut through is right across from our driveway where you pull in by our garage. They cut right across the grass there. And there's that's the gravel lot of the church. That's the main place. Occasionally they've done it further up. But usually they drive all the way back to our driveway. And then they cut further back. They just cut over instead of turning around our driveway and going back out.
So would you, to alleviate that, the best thing seems to be a fence or a sign. Is that something you think you would be willing to do, or you would rather the church do it if we required it?
Where are you suggesting the sign go? All the way up?
Well, no,
driveway
where
where
they tend to cross the most is by the gravel parking lot towards the left rear of the
Yes,
property.
yes. Yes, that's something I wouldn't mind putting a sign up for that. That'd be all right.
Something to, if it's a nuisance, because the church may not be willing or able to do it. And that may be one less thing that, alleviates your concerns.
Yeah, I can do that. I'll talk to my husband, but I'm sure I can do that.
Okay, Margaret?
I have another question. From the picture that Ben is showing right now, would it make sense for the church just to put a little gravel driveway arm that would go from this shared driveway straight into their parking lot? I bet, there you go. So just, that's the shared driveway, is that correct? That we're seeing, yeah, is that the shared driveway? Right at the front of it, what if the church added a little gravel driveway that would go straight into the parking lot? And then people, the church would know to go there.
The problem with that is the 8 feet from the edge of the driveway over on the grass is our property. So it's not the church's property to the road that we have 8 feet over. So that would be taking some of our property,
I see. I'm sorry, I thought it was a shared driveway.
The shared driveway is because there's a big farm behind us. So there's people that live way back there that used our driveway also.
So that's an easement, essentially, right? It's access for the people behind. Okay. Wow. All right.
Could I ask a question to Miss Newby?
Sure.
Yes.
I apologize. I had not heard that anybody had done that. I wasn't aware that that was a problem. I'm sure my husband wasn't either. I just wondered, does that happen very frequently?
I'm not staying out there all the time, but we are out in our yard a lot. I'd say it may not happen every time you have a service, but every couple of times you have a service, somebody pulls in and then cuts across. So it happens more frequently than we'd like.
Well, going forward, we have a security team. I will notify that, and we will look and watch out for that to see if it's maybe the same person that's doing it. I would think that most people would be very familiar that come to our church how to get in there, and maybe there's somebody that doesn't understand that that's not our road over there, but we'll watch and see. I certainly apologize for that. Wasn't aware of that.
Thank you.
All right. So all questions been asked. So the chair will entertain a motion. Or would you like to discuss the issue or any other conditions to be added?
I want to have a little discussion. Before we heard testimony from both sides, I was leaning towards to put a condition on adding a fence at the playground area, but we've had testimony from the applicant that they're not going to be using that for the daycare people or the children, which makes sense because they want to protect it in a fenced area, and that's part of the regulations. So I don't have a concern about that. And the driving across the driveway sounds like we've got the applicants going to try to do something about that. As far as noise levels, I would think that if the adjacent property owner, Ms. Newby, can let them know when that's occurring, at the time it's occurring, hopefully you can reduce that, because as you all know, noise carries really far and it's hard to suppress noise. Those are my big concerns when I saw that the additional letter testimony, but other than that, it sounds like we've had things addressed by the applicant through testimony.
I would like to include the condition of the 15 maximum children in the play area to help contain the noise for Ms. Newby. The chair will entertain the motion.
Motion that the request by the Journey Early Education Center at 2842 US Highway 421 for a conditional use permit to allow for a daycare operation or facility for up to 70 children be approved due to the positive findings in the staff report and also with the following, the conditions read earlier by Mr. Judah, with the additional condition being that no more than 15 children will be in the play area at one time, and that the applicant has agreed to that condition.
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
All right, Secretary, please call the roll.
Give me just a second. Okay. Mr. Buchanan,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Mr. Holder,
Yes.
Ms. Townsley,
Yes.
and Mr. White.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. Do we have any other business? All right, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we
So
adjourn.
move.
All right,
I'll
Thank
second.
you. Thank you
all
all.
right. We are
Meeting.
adjourned 6:08. Thank you
Have
all.
a good night.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You do the same. Thank you.